Hello game devs. In this tutorial we are going to talk about new input system. Actually it's not new anymore, but now most of people call it new input system, and I call it like it too. You can just call it input system. In Unity 6 we have this file, this input system action file. Let's take a look at this. Here we have some actions, and here we have some action maps. Every action maps have some actions. For example, here we have move action, look action, attack action, and so on. Here in move action we have action type and control type. Action type can be something like value, button, and pass through. Most of the time we just use value and button type. Here in value type we can set a control type. For example, it is an axis, this is a vector 2, vector 3, or etc. Here I want it to be vector 2. Here we have a left stick, it's in our gamepad for something like Xbox, PlayStation, and something like this. And here we have WASD, it's for our keyboard, and it will return vector 2 for us to control our player. We have something else like attack, interact, jump, and something like this. Here in attack we have some keys. We can use them to tell our character that we want to attack, and we can use it in our code. Okay, it's enough for this asset file. Let's create a player controller for our game. And for example, I create a circle, then I want to add a player input for it. Player input get our action asset here, and after that it will help us to create our controller using our input system. Here we have some behaviors to create our player and controller, or every controller we want to create. And in this video I want to use invoke Unity events. Here we can just set some events to some actions that we had here. For example, this move here have this event here, and when we put some event in this action, Unity will invoke this action when we need it. So after that we have to create a player controller. In this tutorial our focus is just on working with input system, not a complicated player controller. So I just want to create a simple player controller with our input system. Here at first I want to define some variables, for example public float speed. Please let me disable this GitHub Copilot. Okay, public float speed for our player speed, and then I want to create a private vector 2 for our movement. I call it move. It's to a new vector 2, and after this we have to create some functions to use it as events in our player input component. They have to have a callback context variable in their parameters. So I just create a public void on move, and then input action dot callback context, and I want to call it something like context. Okay, and when you create this you have to be able to see it in your components. And as you see here we can add some new events. Then I want to pass my player controller to it, and then here in our player controller we have this on move, and in this context we have some datas, and we can use it for our game. Here our context have a vector 2 variable because it is a move action, and as you see our move action had a vector 2 variable. So we can set our move to context dot read value vector 2, and we can multiply this with our speed. So easy. And after that, in our update method, I just want to do some easier stuffs to move. For example, transform dot translate with our move, and I want to multiply this with my time dot delta time. Let's see what we did. Okay, I want to play our game, and at first then we have to set some speed to our object, and now as you see we can move. It is how we can use some actions that have some values. Here we have vector 2 value, and they may have some int value and some other values. And after that I want to show you how to use some other actions that don't have any value. For example, in this attack or interact actions, as you see these actions type are buttons. Here we have just buttons, and these specific actions also have a hold property. And now let's do something with this interact action. In our script, I want to create another method, for example void on for example interact, and then it have to have this context. I just copy and paste it here, and then I just want it to log something in our console, and just debug.log something like interact. In our game here, when we press E buttons, and that is the key of our interact action, nothing happens because we forgot to add it here in this event player. This player and UI are the action maps that we had in our action assets. Here we have this interact. Let's add a new event. We just pass it here. Here in our circle and in player controller, we have to look for our on interact. Okay, and then when we press play, when I press E, that is our key of interact action, we will have this log. It's enough for this tutorial. If you want to know more about input action, just let me know. In this tutorial I just want to show some things that you can create your controller and something you need in your game in the easy way. But Unity input system is really more than what I talked about in this tutorial. So if you want to know more, you can just search in the web or ask me in comments to make some other tutorial about advanced stuffs of this input system if you want. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and goodbye.